My name is Ethan Hayes, and I'm an operations manager at a decent-sized branch of Sterling Trust Bank in downtown Boston. For a guy like me who only got his foot in the door through a college recruitment program because his dad was a lifer here, climbing this far is pretty much hitting the ceiling. Without a powerful family network to back me up, and with my dad long since retired, his clout dried up years ago. In a business like banking, where your social capital is everything, every step forward is a slow, grinding battle. Right now, I'm staring down the barrel of one piece of good news and one piece of very, very bad news. The good news is that our branch manager, Mar Peterson, is about to get called up to the regional headquarters, a promotion to VP of commercial lending. And I'm the front runner on the short list to replace him. Even Mark has started calling me Mr. Manager in private, half joking, half testing the title out. After 15 years of blood, sweat, and spreadsheets, I should be on top of the world. But I can't feel a damn thing. That's because of the bad news. My wife, Claire, the woman I've been with since we were kids, is probably cheating on me. Ethan, I swear I don't know where the discrepancy is. In the security office, Kevin Zhao, one of our newer tellers, was on the verge of tears. We'd replayed the security footage a dozen times, but the $400 that had mysteriously appeared in his drawer at closing simply had no source. It was a classic cash-over situation, the one thing everyone from the tellers to the back office to me, their manager, dreaded seeing at the end of the day. It was worse than being short. Friends who don't work in banking always have this idea that if you accidentally leave a 20 on the counter, it goes straight into the teller's pocket. It's a popular theory online, but the reality is nothing like the public imagines. The second we have a discrepancy, long or short, we have to track down the affected customer. If we don't, and they figure it out later and file a complaint, or worse, go to the media, it becomes a massive reputational risk. The teller gets written up, and the fallout rolls straight up the chain of command to me and then to Mark. Fines, formal reprimands. It's a nightmare, which is why it was 9:30 at night, and I was still here helping this kid comb through hours of footage, transaction by transaction, trying to pinpoint the mistake. Mr. Hayes, I'm so sorry, Kevin mumbled, his voice thick with exhaustion. I've just been so out of it lately. I messed up, and now I'm keeping you from going home. He wasn't wrong. The kid was fast, but his error rate lately had been off the charts. He walked around in a daze, his mind clearly a million miles away. Still, I couldn't bring myself to chew him out. Who wasn't young once? We all started at the bottom, grinding it out in the trenches. The job was punishing enough. If I came down on him like a ton of bricks now, he'd probably crumble. I remembered all too well what it was like to be a teller, getting reamed out for the smallest mistake. I'd sworn to myself back then that if I ever got into management, I wouldn't be one of those guys who pulls the ladder up behind them. I would be patient. I would be supportive. I would treat my team like family. It's all right, Kevin. Don't panic. The more you rush, the less you'll see, I said, keeping my voice level, fighting back the tide of irritation rising in my chest. Check again. Look at the cash transactions between 10:15 and 10:30 this morning. See if anything jumps out. It was exhausting playing the part of the calm, collected manager when my personal life was a dumpster fire. My years on the teller line gave me a hunch. The mistake was probably in one of the large, even $1,000 withdrawals. 10-1, Kevin had handed over a strapped bundle of hundreds that he'd already broken into, thinking it was a full stack. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I'll check again. Kevin's face was a mask of gratitude. He forced his eyes, red-rimmed from a full day of staring at screens, back to the monitor, analyzing every move he'd made. The sooner we found it, the sooner we could both go home. He'd still have to call the customer and arrange to return the money, but at least I could finally leave. Finally, at the 10:27 a.m. timestamp, I saw it. During a lull, Kevin had straightened his cash drawer. In the process, he'd carelessly slid the paper band on a stack of hundreds from the side, the signal that the strap had been broken and counted, to the center, making it look like a pristine, untouched bundle of 10,000. Oh, wow. Man, I'm so sorry. That was completely my fault, Kevin stammered, his face flushing a deep crimson as he slapped a hand to his forehead. I was at my breaking point, but I swallowed the sharp words that wanted to escape. It's fine, I said, my voice unnaturally calm. Just remember what caused it. Make sure it doesn't happen again. He nodded like a bobblehead, the picture of earnest remorse. With the error identified, it only took another 10 minutes of fast-forwarding to find the lucky customer who'd walked out $400 richer and hadn't even noticed. All right, Kevin, call the customer. Try to get that money back to them tonight. The tension in the room finally broke. I clapped him on the shoulder, my mind already drifting home. We didn't have a staff meeting tonight, a rare gift. I'd hoped to get home early enough to spend some time with my daughter, Lily. With my schedule, I was out before she was up and home after she was in bed. Soon she was going to forget what her own father looked like. As for my wife, Claire, just thinking her name was a sharp, twisting pain in my gut. That familiar, acidic feeling of loss filled my chest again. She was probably lost in her own world, happily chatting online with her new guy. It wouldn't matter to her whether I came home or not. Mr. Hayes, I'm heading out to meet the customer. You get home safe. So sorry again for keeping you so late. I'll be more careful, I promise. Kevin waved as he unlocked a bike share and pedaled off into the night. I turned off the lights, set the alarm, and pulled down the heavy security gate. Another chaotic day was finally over. I was on my way home. When I got there, Lily had already shut herself in her room to do her homework. Another day, another failure to be a present father. Claire saw me come in and pasted on a bright smile. Ethan, you're home. Rough day. I thought you weren't working late tonight. She took a plate of leftovers from the fridge and put it in the microwave, making small talk while it heated up. The anger and stress from the day had coiled into a tight knot in my stomach, and I had no desire to talk to her. Not now. Not when I was almost certain she was hiding something. But I was a grown man. Until I had concrete proof, I couldn't take it out on her. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to sound normal. Wasn't overtime. The new teller, Kevin, his drawer was long. I was helping him review the security footage. After all these years, she could read me like a book. She must have sensed the impatience simmering beneath my calm exterior. Her smile faltered. Here, she said, placing the hot plate in front of me. Eat while it's warm. You look exhausted. Why don't you take a hot bath? I'll run it for you in a bit. I'm just going to cut up some fruit for Lily. Call me if you need anything. She disappeared into the kitchen. A moment later, I heard the faint ping of a notification from her phone. The knot in my stomach tightened. I was Ethan Hayes. I used to be a handsome guy, a guy with a future. How did I end up here? A middle-aged cliché with a crumbling marriage. I had to admit, even now, Claire was a beautiful woman. Time had been ridiculously kind to her. She'd gone from the little girl who used to trail after me shouting, Ethan, wait for me, to the mother of my child, and she hadn't lost an ounce of her grace. At least, not to me. We were the real deal, childhood sweethearts. We went to the same elementary, middle, and high school. We got into Boston College together, and we stayed here after graduation. Our foundation was solid, so we got married right out of school. Lily came along the next year. Back then, I felt like the king of the world. I was convinced I had married the most wonderful girl on the planet. Our love, I thought, was invincible. It would never expire. To provide for our family, I worked myself to the bone, and she sacrificed just as much. After Lily was born, both our families were back in the Midwest. We didn't want to send Lily back there to be raised by her grandparents. The schools in Boston were too good. So, Claire quit her job as an office administrator to be a stay-at-home mom, picking up side hustles running an Etsy shop and doing freelance content writing. Her side hustles took off. After a few years, her income started to rival mine, which only made me push myself harder at work. By the time I was promoted from senior teller to operations manager, the pressure was immense. The pay at Sterling Trust wasn't the best in the industry, but the responsibility was crushing. I was the final word on compliance for every transaction that happened on the floor. I had to manage complex client issues, and with the bank's endless all-hands-on-deck sales pushes, I was expected to leverage my own network to bring in new accounts and deposits. It was utterly draining, and the hours kept getting longer. As a teller, I'd had days where I got home on time. As a manager, I almost never saw my family. There were mandatory training sessions at regional, endless branch meetings, or I'd be stuck late helping my team with some mess like Kevin's cash drawer tonight. The time I spent with Claire dwindled to nothing. The things we had to say to each other became fewer and fewer. Sometimes I was too busy to talk. Other times I was too stressed. She's my wife, I tell myself. She's the closest person to me in the world. Why don't say today? I can say tomorrow. There will always be more time. Maybe it was the growing silence, the widening gulf between us. Maybe it was the lack of companionship. By the time I noticed something was wrong, it was already too late. It started with her smiling at her phone, a giddy, secretive grin. Sometimes she'd seem completely lost in thought. I was too oblivious to see the signs. Then, by a complete accident, I discovered her secret. She was having an online affair. I saw a conversation dripping with intimacy. She was complaining to him about her life, about how she couldn't communicate with me anymore. This other man was playing the part of the understanding friend, telling her to be patient with me, that I was just working hard. Then he added, in the slimiest way imaginable, that if it were him, he would make a point of regularly asking his wife if he was doing enough, if she was unhappy about anything, just to keep the love fresh. And then Claire, my Claire, dropped all pretense of restraint and told him how much she missed him, how much she loved him. The worst part? The guy was a cringy role player. He typed out his actions in asterisks, trying to be cute for my wife. The contact named Claire had saved him undersent a shard of ice through my heart. Hubby 18. Was 18 his age? Or was it his number in a sequence? What the hell had my beautiful, gentle wife been doing behind my back? If she hadn't left her phone on the dining table by mistake, I never would have known. She'd come rushing back for it a minute later. So frantic she didn't even notice I'd had just enough time to unlock it and see the secret she was trying so desperately to hide. I couldn't live like this, not knowing. I had to find out what was going on. I wouldn't let my family fall apart without knowing why. The next day, I called my best friend from college, Dave. He runs a private investigation firm now, mostly handling infidelity cases and the occasional paternity test. His disbelief was palpable even over the phone. Ethan, are you serious? Man, I'm a good judge of character. Claire? No way. She would never cheat on you. I was too tired to argue. Dave, I don't care how it sounds, I said, my voice strained. I saw her phone. I saw the messages between her and some guy. They were intense. And she has him saved as Hubby 18. What else could it be? You have to help me, man. Find out who she's been talking to. I can't be the clueless husband whose wife is screwing around on him. There was a pause on the other end. Ethan, look, I really think you should just talk to her, he said gently. What if it's some kind of misunderstanding? Better to clear the air now before you drive yourself crazy. A flash of anger shot through me. What? You think I'm an idiot? That I can't see what's right in front of my face? I wouldn't be calling you if there wasn't a problem. He heard the desperation in my voice and backed off. Okay, easy, man. Don't blow a gasket. I'll look into it for you. Give me 2 weeks. I'll see what I can dig up on her recent contacts, her activity, see if anything looks off. If I find something, you'll be the first to know. Sound good? Knowing Dave was on the case calmed me down, but only slightly. The thought of Claire with someone else was like a physical wound. We used to be so in love. How did it come to this? Was a lifetime of shared history not enough to withstand the daily grind? I knew I'd been distant, that I'd neglected her, but it was all for this family. For Lily. For her. And that online creep she called Hubby 18. A cold rage settled in my stomach. I wanted to find him. I wanted to make him pay. I never bought into that garbage excuse that it takes two to tango. Cheating is cheating. Poaching someone's wife is poaching someone's wife. Don't give me that crap about, if it wasn't me, it would have been someone else. Claire was Lily's mother. I could never truly hurt her. But the man she was talking to, once I had a name, I would make sure he regretted it. In my book, the other man doesn't get to walk away clean. Not a chance in hell. The days crawled by. I hadn't heard back from Dave. Maybe my suspicion was coloring everything. But Claire's behavior seemed to get more and more erratic. The way her face lit up when she looked at her phone, a bright, giddy smile I hadn't seen directed at me in years. It was like a knife in my gut. She guarded that phone like it was the crown jewels, which might as well have been a flashing neon sign. All I could do was wait for Dave's call. Then I decide my next move. Have a good day at work, honey. I'll be waiting for you. Claire called out as I left for work, waving from the doorway with a sweet smile. It didn't matter how beautiful she looked. To me, it was all fake. A tainted love isn't worth holding on to. If you're going to guard your phone from your husband like he's a thief, then don't blame me if things get ugly when I finally have the proof. Mr. Hayes, here's the log for the last 2 weeks of check processing and traveler's check redemptions. Could you take a look? Kevin placed the binder on my desk. He was beaming, back to his usual cheerful self. He hadn't made a single mistake all week. Sure, I'll get to it in a bit. You can go back to the floor, I said, my voice flatter than I intended. Between the mess at home and the pressure at work, my mood had been foul for days. But my professional pride and the promise I'd made to myself kept me in check. Don't take your crap out on your team. I rubbed my temples and went back to the spreadsheet on my screen. As Kevin reached the door, I couldn't help myself. Hey, Kevin, I called out. You seem like you're in a better mood these days. Everything's sorted out. He grinned. You don't miss a thing, do you, Mr. Hayes? Yeah. Sorry about how I was acting before. Had some personal stuff going on. He hesitated, then decided to share. The company my girlfriend was supposed to start working for after graduation had a hiring freeze, and her offer got pulled. She panicked and said she was going to break up with me and move back home. But we sat down and actually talked. Turns out, we still love each other. She just felt like I wasn't paying enough attention to her since I started this job. And with the job falling through, she kind of freaked out and wanted to see how I'd react. Now that we've cleared the air, she apologized, and I promised to be better about balancing work and our relationship. And get this, she just got a new job offer, even better than the first one. So yeah, I guess we made it through the storm. Seeing his goofy, triumphant smile just made me feel worse. All right, get out of here, I said, waving him away with mock severity. Stop rubbing your happiness in my face. And for God's sake, be careful with your transactions from now on. After he left, a wave of melancholy washed over me. A young couple has a fight, they talk it out, and it's over. The problems between me and Claire, they weren't going to be solved with a simple conversation. This was killing me. Just before closing time, my phone rang. It was Dave. My hand was trembling as I hit the answer button. I wanted the truth, but I was terrified of it. If he confirmed Claire was seeing someone, I honestly didn't know what I would do. Because underneath all the anger and resentment, I knew I still loved her. The love hadn't faded. It had just gotten buried under years of exhaustion and neglect. I answered the phone, my mind already flashing through scenarios of violent confrontation. But what he said stopped me cold. What do you mean you didn't find anything? I exploded. Dave, what the hell am I paying you for? His voice on the other end was defensive but not guilty. Ethan, trust me, I'm a professional. When I say there's nothing, I mean I've checked everything. Phone records, credit card statements, location tracking. It's all clean. You have to believe me. Claire is basically a hermit. Her entire routine is dropping Lily at school, groceries, and running her Etsy shop. All of her business contacts are other women. There's no one in her call logs or messages who even remotely fits the description of Hubby 18. I swear on my life, Ethan, she's not cheating on you. Did I believe him? If I couldn't trust Dave, my best friend, who could I trust? But it made no sense. Was I hallucinating? Was her strange behavior all in my head? I hung up and sank into my office chair, the fight completely gone out of me. All my carefully constructed theories, all my plans for revenge, they all dissolved into thin air. Suddenly, my phone rang again. It was Lily. She should be in her last class of the day. A call from her now could only mean trouble. My heart leaped into my throat. Lily? Sweetie, what's wrong? Dad, you have to come home, she sobbed into the phone. Mom collapsed. I don't know what to do. The world went dark for a second. My head spun. Did you call 911? I stammered. Call 911. I'm on my way. In that instant, all the thoughts of revenge, of confronting Claire about her affair, they vanished. All that was left was a terrifying, all-consuming fear for her safety. She had been looking pale the last few days. I couldn't let my mind go there. I mumbled an excuse to Mark and ran out of the bank, sprinting for my car. I had completely underestimated how much I still loved her. All the bitterness and anger washed away, replaced by a single, desperate prayer. Just let her be okay. That's all that mattered. We were at the hospital until well after midnight. Claire was admitted to the emergency ward for observation. I had to work the next day, so I hired a private nurse to stay with her overnight and drove home to try and get a few hours of sleep. I was a terrible husband. I hadn't even noticed she'd been running a fever for 3 days. The flu had gotten so bad that she'd passed out from the high temperature and dehydration. If Lily hadn't had a half day for her last final exam and come home early to find her slumped over the dining table, unconscious, I couldn't bear to think about what might have happened. And I was a terrible father, too. I was so wrapped up in my own misery that I didn't even know it was her finals week. Maybe I really had let my job consume me, blinding me to the needs of the people I loved most. It was 4 in the morning when I got back to the empty house. I was about to wash my face and lie down for an hour or two when I saw it. Claire's phone sitting on the dining table where she'd left it. She was in no condition to guard her secrets now. I didn't believe I had imagined that conversation, but I didn't believe Dave would lie to me either. This was it, the moment of truth. Even if it was going to destroy me, I had to know. I unlocked the screen with Lily's birthday. It opened right to the chat with hubby 18. A fresh wave of rage washed over me. My hands shook so badly the phone rattled in my grip. It wasn't a hallucination. The woman was cheating on me. For a second, I saw red. I wanted to smash the phone, smash everything in the house. But then, my thumb swiped up, scrolling through the chat history. And I froze. The fire inside me was extinguished by a sudden, shocking cascade of ice-cold water. All that was left was a hollow, aching sense of shame. This wasn't a chat with another man. It was an app, a popular AI companion called Aura. Hubby 18 was just a custom personality she had created for herself. And he wasn't the only one. There was a list, hubby 8, hubby 12, all the way up to hubby 30. I tapped on the profile for each one. To set up descriptions, the personality parameters she had written. Each one was like a hammer blow to my chest, knocking the air from my lungs. Hubby 8 personality profile. 8 years old, the age I first met my husband, Ethan. Back then, he was just a nice older boy next door. He would take me on adventures, and he was always so patient, like a little gentleman. Honest, brave, and smart. That's how I saw him. Hubby 12 personality profile. 12 years old, when Ethan and I argued about everything. He was so arrogant, pretending to be a grown-up when he was still just a kid. He acted distant, but I could still see the kindness underneath all that teenage pride. He was annoying, but he was still the most important person in my life. Grow up fast, you little punk. Personality profile. 16 years old, studying together, dreaming of our future. I don't know if he knew I had a crush on him, but I could see the way he looked at me. We made a pact. We would get into BC together, and then we could start dating. He was so patient when he tutored me. Sometimes I pretended not to understand a problem just to see that frustrated but helpless look on his face. It was adorable. Hubby 18. Personality profile. 18 years old. The year my husband, Ethan, promised we'd be together forever. He told me he would always check in with me. Asked me if I was happy, and if I wasn't, he would fix it. He was so serious when he said it. He would never believe that one day he would barely have the patience to say a single word to me. By the time I reached the last profile, tears were streaming down my face. She wasn't just programming chatbots. She was chronicling our life together. She was preserving every version of the man she had loved. In all the moments I had been absent, she had surrounded herself with these digital ghosts of me, just to feel close to me again. I went back to the conversation with hubby 18 and scrolled up until I found the exchange I'd seen before. Reading it now, the words were like daggers in my heart. Claire, can you just talk to me for a while? My husband gets annoyed the second he hears my voice. He tries to hide it, but I can see the irritation in his eyes. Hubby 18. He's probably just busy and stressed from work. You have to be understanding. I know he loves you more than anything. It's just a tough time for him. Claire, is it? If it were you, how would you keep from growing distant from the person you love when life gets hard? Hubby 18. That would never happen. I would always make time to ask her how she's feeling. If she's unhappy about something, I want to know so I can fix it. That's how you make love last forever. Claire, I envy her. I hope you remember that promise. Hubby 18, don't worry. Ethan Hayes always keeps his word. And just like that, I remembered it. I was 18 years old, telling Claire I loved her for the first time, and I had made her that exact promise. For years, I kept it. But as my job got more demanding, the promise faded, forgotten in the relentless march of time. I spent all my energy managing my emotions at work, being patient with my team, being gentle to everyone. Everyone except Claire. I had saved all my impatience, all my exhaustion, for the one person who mattered most. After a long time, I picked up my phone and dialed Mark's number. He answered with a sleep-choked grumble. Ethan? What the hell? It's the middle of the night. You trying to give me a heart attack? Mark, I need to take tomorrow off. My wife's in the hospital. I have to be with her. He groaned. You couldn't have sent me a text in the morning? You have to call me at 4:30 a.m. for this. I knew I was being ridiculous, but a giddy, overwhelming joy was bubbling up inside me. You're right, Mark. I'm sorry. I had to share some good news. My wife loves me, and I love my wife. Ethan, he said, his voice dead serious. You need help. I drove straight back to the hospital, the pre-dawn glow of the city lighting my way. Claire was discharged the next day after getting some fluids, but I took 2 more days off to stay home with her until she was fully recovered. I dug out my old pots and pans and made her my signature slow-cooked beef brisket, a dish I hadn't made in almost a decade. It used to be her favorite, my go-to whenever I wanted to bribe her for something. When she tasted it, she didn't say a word. She just cried, silent tears of happiness streaming down her face. It was louder than any words could have been. At the bank's annual awards dinner a few months later, I brought Claire and Lily as my special guests. I had gotten a promotion. All my team members swarmed Claire, calling her by her first name, telling her what a great, supportive boss I was. She glowed, a smile plastered on her face the entire night. When it was my turn to give a speech, after thanking my incredible team, I looked directly at my wife. None of this would be possible without her, I said, my voice thick with emotion. So I just want to say thank you to my wife, Claire, and also to say I'm sorry. I know I lost sight of what was important, and I let you down. But I hope you know that my feelings for you have never changed. The promise I made when I was 18. It never expired. It never will. As the room broke into applause, I looked at Claire. Through her tears, I saw that brilliant, luminous light in her eyes that I hadn't seen in years. It was the color of true happiness. And